Hello, everyone. This is Joyce McConnell, President of Colorado State University. As many of you know, I recently publicly outlined a comprehensive planning process for CSU's recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm really energized to lead this process, working in collaboration with CSU's public health experts, researchers, administrative leadership, and our faculty, staff, and students. After I announced our planning process, I asked what questions were uppermost in your minds. Many of you responded. Thank you for sharing your concerns. Some of you will receive a response directly from an appropriate unit on campus. Those questions that we heard most frequently and urgently will be answered in this video. I am grateful to be joined in answering by the co-chairs of CSU's Pandemic Preparedness Team, Mark Barker and Lori Lynn. Mark is the Executive Director of our Adult, Learner, and Veteran Services and a retired officer in the U.S. Army. He has a degree in organizational leadership and a distinguished career advocating for military populations in higher education. Lori is the Associate Executive Director of the CSU Health Network and a registered nurse. She also has a master's degree in health sector management and has worked as a first responder herself. Lori is FEMA trained in responding to healthcare crises and has worked extensively in emergency management throughout her career. Mark, Lori, thank you both for your wise, compassionate, and level-headed leadership during this incredibly challenging time. I'm going to begin by answering the question that is uppermost in your minds. CSU will be open for in-person classes and operations this fall. We look forward to welcoming faculty, staff, and students back to campus, and to welcoming our new students to campus for the very first time in August. I know that this announcement raises a lot of questions. How are we going to keep our community healthy? How will we incorporate public health guidelines like social distancing into the daily life of our campus? What will we do if there is another rise in cases of COVID-19 and we are advised to return to virtual operation? We are working on communications to all of you that will respond thoroughly to these and many more concerns. These communications will come out very soon. What I want you all to hear now is the extraordinary work that our pandemic preparedness team has done and is continuing to do to keep all of us healthy. So I'm going to turn the next question over to Lori.
Thank you, Joyce. The pandemic planning team is currently working on developing a comprehensive plan to bring individuals back to campus, including students, faculty, and staff, and to do so in a way that will maintain the health and well-being of those individuals. We currently rely heavily on guidance from the Department of Higher Ed, the CDC, state and local public health entities to provide the current recommendations around how we can best provide for safety and ensure that there's mitigation of potential risk for individuals to be exposed to COVID. Some of those steps that we've taken are looking at housing and dining, for example. So around dining services, we've instituted grab-and-go meals, which allow for minimal contact between individuals and being able to provide the food service to those students still on campus. We're evaluating the issues around housing density for the fall as we prepare to identify what's the appropriate level of individuals within a residence hall, and how do we ensure that we have opportunities to maintain social distancing. We also are looking at classes and moving small classes to bigger facilities, determining whether we need to do large classes, potentially remote with smaller recitations, and a variety of different strategies to address this. We also are working to provide education to both faculty, staff, and students around the basic public health guidance for hand hygiene, social distancing, requirements to wear masks, and other ways in which we can further mitigate the spread of COVID. And knowing that although we may start the fall semester off in person, things can change throughout the semester. So we're building plans that are adaptable and will allow us to respond to the guidance that comes out along the way as the virus runs its course. And we're also focusing on areas such as testing. So as we identify an individual that may have been exposed to COVID, we'll be able to rapidly test that individual and do some robust contact tracing and institute methods of self-isolation and quarantine to prevent the spread in the community. So we've taken a number of steps. We continue to identify best practices, and we'll have a comprehensive plan in place prior to the fall semester.
Thank you, Lori. That was really helpful to hear all of that. And your team has just been doing such amazing work, so I can't thank you enough. I think I can take the next question. I know that budget is the top of all of our minds. That is the main thing that we are working on right now and why I put together the recovery working groups. I want to go through some steps that we will be taking to put the budget together. First of all, we met with the Board of Governors this week to get guidance from the Board of Governors of the Colorado State University system. We also learned that the state budget revenues are about a $2 billion shortfall, and that in order to make up that shortfall, there will be budget cuts to agencies and higher education. We believe the budget cut will probably be about 20%. I want to assure everyone as we go through this process that the Board of Governors of the system has given us guidance to focus on preserving our workforce, and we are extremely committed to finding creative and innovative ways to do that. We will be reporting to the Colorado State University system at the June board meeting. That's only 3 weeks away. And as soon as we know how the board would like us to proceed with our budget, we will be in touch with you immediately. I promise you we will communicate transparently and clearly as we move through the decision-making process in the coming months. And now I'd like to introduce Mark Barker to take the next question.
Thank you, President McConnell. I'm going to try to answer some very specific questions about returning to work and events and those types of things. And I know that it's a pressing question for many people on campus right now, as we've seen the governor's orders that are relaxing just a bit and safer at home. We see folks more folks out in the grocery stores and those types of things. So it's not surprising that the pandemic team is getting a lot of questions about when can I return to work, when can my event be held. And so I think it's important that we point out that while the governor has relaxed some orders and we're in the safer at home stage, it is also important to know that the Colorado Department of Higher Ed and the governor has very specific directions for higher ed. So with that said, and to answer some of those questions, we're currently in a situation where until May the 27th, we are under an order that essentially hasn't changed from his first order. We are working with a very couple of specific units on campus that were deemed essential in person originally that want to, they're working on extending that in the research and bringing back some research currently. But for the majority of the campus community, I think it's important to know that we are currently working virtually and remotely. As you heard Lori mention, we're working on plans that as the governor's orders extend and expand, we will have plans in place to bring people back on campus safely. So that's kind of the where we are right now, and it's a difficult message for some folks to hear. I know that folks are chomping at the bit and want to get back to work, and it says a lot about your commitment to our campus and our community. But right now we're in a stage where until that next order comes out from the governor, we're going to ask you to continue to be working remotely as we have been. The other one's around events and university events. And again, just like the working remotely, we're in a category where events we are still, because the campus is closed, we've not opened the campus up to specific events. Some guidance, if you're planning events, we anticipate that some of the orders around community events and the 10-person limitations may be relaxed a bit in the coming months, but we don't know that for certain. So if for planning purposes, you've got an event in mid-June and it is a large event with a lot of folks, you may want to start planning to go ahead and cancel that event. It's important to know that we as a pandemic planning team won't make that call until new orders come out. And then the last question that we've been asked as a team repeatedly is kind of around, as we start the phased in approach and we start bringing folks back on campus, we've had some very specific questions. Will I be forced to come back, and those types of things? Know that our guidance, and you saw it in President McConnell's message on April the 30th, that the guiding principle and theme for us as a team is that, you know, we want to protect the health of our faculty, staff, students, and the greater community. So we're going to be very mindful of those individuals who are at high risk, considered vulnerable, or who live with high risk or vulnerable populations. And those are discussions that we will have as we start phasing back in people on campus.
Thank you, Mark. That was really wonderful. I really appreciate your honesty and the reassurances to our community that we're doing everything possible to protect their health. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Lori. I know that you want to know about the membership of the working groups, and you can find that list now posted online, so you will know everyone who is working so hard to chart a path forward for us. We've worked very hard to get diverse voices represented and all of our employee groups, so please take a look. I also want to assure you that there will be opportunities in our town hall meetings for faculty, staff, students to participate and ask questions about the budget and about how our plans are going. Thank you for watching, everyone. I know that we have not answered all your questions, but please know that we are working on them all. I'm 100% committed to leading CSU in successfully recovering from this pandemic. And I know we will recover thanks to your hard work and tireless dedication to this extraordinary university and community. Information about COVID-19 still changes day by day. Our answers and plans will keep up with that information and with public health guidance. And I promise that we will be back in touch as soon as we have more to share. Thank you.